It's our first play in which we're talking about the LSU Tigers, another team in the state of Louisiana that has not played its best brand of football in the last 3 weeks. The Tigers lose their third straight game in a row to the Florida Gators, losing 27-16. The former Raging Cajun head coach Billy Napier, now the head coach of the Florida Gators, getting the last laugh over on Brian Kelly. LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier was 27 of 47, 260 yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, DJ Lagway, the quarterback for the Florida Gators, was 13 of 26, 226 yards and a touchdown. He had a lot of big moments throughout the game. He found his receivers and made plays where he needed to, like Elijah Badger, who had 6 catches for 131 yards and that touchdown that Lagway threw to him. There were a lot of moments throughout this game. I went back and I looked at the highlights of it. I looked at some of the stuff that people were talking about on Twitter. And the common theme of what I'm seeing is that it looks like Brian Kelly has lost this football team. There was a moment where he was fussing at Chris Hilton, and the lip readers were basically saying that he said, you're uncoachable. Don't walk away from me when I'm talking to you. There was a moment when the Tigers offense was coming off on the field and Kyron Lacey was going at it. And he startled Brian Kelly. The LSU now sits at 6-4 on the season. They're out of the top 25. They're out of the SEC championship picture. They're out of the college football playoff picture. And as we know here in Louisiana and in the SEC, if you have 4 losses on the year, those are the type of seasons that can get you fired. So with that in mind, Elijah, the question that we pose, how hot is the seat of Brian Kelly?
I think it's lukewarm, but I don't think it's like lukewarm enough to where you say he's fired at the end of the season or should be fired next season. I just think it's lukewarm because I think the attention is brought on him. Honestly, we knew what Brian Kelly was before he got there. Brian Kelly usually was a middle of the pack guy. Always had a middle of the pack team. When he first got to LSU, he had success right off the rip, which LSU fans are they're happy about, or any college football fan, if you are, you'll be happy about. But now that some things are shifting, I think you should just be patient and watch and let him develop a little bit more. Because again, at the end of the day, um, when he walked in, he had Jaden Daniels, we had Malik Neighbors, he had all these guys, Keyshawn Booty, he had all these guys, man, and with the opportunity with that roster to compete for an SEC championship in his first year. And then on top of that, you got next year you still had a dynamic offense, but just didn't have the defense for it. So again, it's just it's lukewarm, but it's not that hot. But before we get into talking about trying to fire Brian Kelly, because I know that's what LSU fans want, I want to remind you guys: Ed Orgeron had 1 championship. I think Les Miles had 1 or 2 with LSU. Just 1 championship with LSU. Yeah, Les Miles had 1 championship with LSU. My point with that is winning a national championship is not an every year thing. Winning a national championship, winning multiple doesn't happen for every coach. I mean, I know we see the Nick Sabans in the world, we see the Urban Meyers in the world. We have to realize that not every year, a national championship will pop out. Now, I'm not saying you could be up, you can't be up, you shouldn't be upset for how disappointing the team looks on the football field. That's different. But a national championship does not come. You're not winning one every year, no matter what college program you are. Sometimes it's 2 years. Sometimes you get one, whatever. So let Brian Kelly cook a little bit more. Let him get these guys in because he did a good job recruiting of getting a lot of 5 stars. Let them develop that and see what happens from there.
Yeah, brother, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm gonna have to strongly disagree on this one because his seat is scalding, boiling hot right now. It is absolutely on fire. They had a recruit from Calvary Baptist up here in Shreveport, where I'm at right now. Uh, that right after the game ended, he flipped his commitment and committed to Ole Miss, like directly after the game. Bryce Underwood has been getting bread out the wazoo offers from Michigan, and all it's gonna take, if these boys lose to Vanderbilt coming up, Bryce Underwood finna flip his commitment straight up. Like, he can love the LSU brand as much as he wants to, and I truly believe that if he were to, ultimately commit there, that he would probably be in contentions to be the starting quarterback next season. But when your head coach is holding the play calling sheet for both sides of the ball, when you have coordinators and play callers, he knows that he's under fire. He knows that it's a rough situation. And like you mentioned, Ed O won the national championship in 2019. He was gone by 21. So there's a very small margin for error in the state of Louisiana. And ultimately, again, this loss boiled down to, once again, the same thing that it did in the Alabama game. Florida's Jimmy's was simply better than LSU's Joe's. Bro, LSU's offensive line had not given up, I think, like 6 sacks up until that point in the season. They gave up 7 sacks in that game. I had stood on the table for them earlier in the year. I can't remember who they played, and I said that this was an outlier game, that Garrett wasn't going to get touched like this again. This happened again. Earlier, I think in the preseason, Will Campbell said that when you win 10 games in the season, that gets you fired. The best they can do is win 8 or really 9 with a bowl win. The best they can do is get 9 wins. So by his words, Brian Kelly should be fired. Now, am I calling for his job? I'm not. The question was, is his seat getting hot? It's hot. It's burning up. He need to be standing. He don't need to be finding no chairs right now because it's rough. I mean, what was the time of possession? It was some crazy number because I'm looking at the number of plays that LSU ran. Garrett threw the ball 47 times, and they ran the football 44 times. So that means they controlled the time of possession. LSU had the ball 41 minutes to Florida's 18. 41 to 18. You should have beat them in a landslide. But the issue was they were getting the ball, they were driving down the field, and they couldn't turn it into touchdowns. And that's the name of the game. Get the ball across the goal line at whatever cost. You want to end the drive with a kick. I get it. You want to be the extra point, a field goal, or a punt. But the name of the game to ultimately win it is to get the ball across the goal line. LSU did not do that. LSU did not do that well enough. And so because of that, Brian Kelly is under fire. And I think that he knows that he's under fire. And he's gotta figure things out super fast. He goes in and he gets Joe Sloan. He gives Cortez Hankton also an opportunity, the co-offensive coordinator with him. You get Blake Baker, and you seemingly have not fixed any issues that you had. Well, obviously, offensively, you didn't have any deficiencies at all, but you regress. Take a step back. The year before, you had the Heisman Trophy winner. You had a top 5 draft pick and receiver in Malik Neighbors, or top 10 in Malik Neighbors on your offense. Right now, I mean, you got 2 bookend tackles that are going to go in the first round. Mel Kiper has Garrett Nussmeier listed as the number 4 quarterback on his draft board. Kyron is playing pretty well. Aaron Anderson has been balling out of control. But outside of that, man, like, you're not putting the pieces together. And then defensively, you have some spot plays where you can really see where the talent is, like Isaiah Alexander, a Braden Swinson, things of that nature. A Whit Weeks, they have moments, but just the explosive plays that Florida was able to put out is what ultimately broke the camel's back in this one, man. LSU had an opportunity to try to get off the field in that ball game. It was 20-16, I think, with about 4 minutes left. And Florida went down the field and scored a touchdown. And that was wraps from there. Third down also didn't help them either. LSU had 24 third down attempts. They got 13 of them. Florida had 9 of them. They got 3. So third downs wasn't the most sexiest moment in the game. But when you have 41 minutes of time of possession and you lose the game by 11 points, That's on the coach. And because you're in the state of Louisiana, because you're in the South, because you're in the SEC, your butt is hot. So Brian Kelly's got to figure it out. His LSU Tigers, they will try to figure things out. They will come back home to play against Vanderbilt, a also 6-4 ball club, which 6-4 for them is really good. You know, if they finish 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, this is a great year for Vanderbilt. So they're going to come into Baton Rouge for a 6:45 kickoff on the SEC network, looking to play spoiler. LSU is only a 9-point favorite in this ball game. And at this point, we know that the running quarterback is LSU's kryptonite. Diego Pavia, with his old self, is going to try to come out there and stand on business. Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.